I thought it would be interesting to just do a short video of some of these big oak trees we have. I was watching something on YouTube late yesterday about all these named oak trees in some forest down south, and they were a bit pathetic. They were supposed to be like 1,000 years old and things. Some of them probably were, but they were in very poor condition, half dead and things. Well, these here, in my opinion, they must be sort of 1,500, well, getting on for 1,000 years old, because they're massive. They show some evidence of being coppiced and grown up again, or what's the term, cut the top off. Not coming to mind, but we shall see. I mean, they're absolutely massive at the bottom, some of them. I'll go a bit closer. This would be one of the biggest ones. I mean, it must be about nearly 20 feet round. It's certainly 15. I'm going to expose the background a bit to get it. And then it gets to about 12 feet, and there's like 3 massive trees on top of this. The trouble is, ones like this are inclined to just drop huge branches off, and it's actually rather dangerous. Doesn't really matter here. This is, let's go down a bit, hang on. This is quite an interesting one, which again, it's a massive split one. You can see in the fork there, there's a little mountain ash tree growing. It's doomed to die eventually. And the third one of this group is less impressive, but go out again. The third one here is less impressive, but still quite a big tree. And then where my dog is digging over there, there's 2 more. The lower one of those is similarly huge at ground level. It must be 15-20 feet round easily. And here we have another very large tree. You can see a large branch fell off there some 20 years ago, and by degrees it was cut up and that big piece there defeated us. But again, it shows this evidence of being perhaps coppiced or grown from an extraordinarily scrubby tree originally. And you can see around the base of stones and things have been put against it, and they're grown into the trunk. Truly massive. And because of its location, it's not doing any harm. The cows like to stand under it. It's by a little stream here which comes out of a very wet field up above. And again, the upper parts are not all that enormous, but at the actual ground level, it shows some evidence it's been cut back at a higher level and allowed to grow up again at about sort of 6 feet. So there was a large tree that was cut back sometime like in the 1500s or something. So it's probably again thick end of 1,000 years old easily. Certainly dates back to like sometime not that long after the Battle of Hastings and Normans, who knows. Something else we could think about historically is this area was subject to what's called the harrying of the North. Now, this is to do with William the Conqueror, and this area was one of the last to sort of submit to him, and when he eventually overran it, he thought he would have to demonstrate his power, and he literally erased every trace of civilization such as there was. So every village and farm and was destroyed and burned, and he even like killed every farm animal and just left them to die, left them to waste presumably. So the whole area was completely destroyed really, and it must have reverted for at least 100 years or so to a much more scrubby wild nature. Now these trees would have been here then, so they would get gradually grown up with other stuff around them. I seem to be almost hurrying through this field, but it's the most lovely bit of lush spring grass. These fields here have sheep in them through the winter, so they get grazed more or less down to half an inch. But this year it actually started to grow away quite early on, but then it just rather stopped through March and April. It was a bit slow again after an early start, but it seems to be incredibly thick and lush now. It's just perfect for cow grazing. You wouldn't have thought they don't seem all that grateful or keen on it. They've been down here 2 or 3 times, but they don't seem to stop down long. They like going across the road, but they've had a few days in there, and while it was rather wet, so they made a bit of a puddly mess in it. Well, they've made the grass muddy. They haven't literally churned it up. So it's really about time they gave it a bit of a break for 2 or 3 days. This hedge on the right, we coppiced that for part of a national park scheme. Coppiced laid and put a few more plants in. So there's one oak tree there. There was more than that planted, but I think that's the only one that's really getting away well. And then on the other side, some alders have grown on their own. There's a very deep ditch there. I had a calf got in it the other day, a newborn calf. But it's okay, it's at home. Still a bit young to be out really. And then I planted the birch trees here later on, the 3 birch. They do it this nice now, really good sign. I always think birch trees look better in little groups. And because they're rather lightly shading, there's still a hedge of sorts underneath it growing. The National Park's bridge repair refurb. We're going to leave the old abutments because he said he felt that ripping it out would be more likely to cause erosion than leaving it in. Fair point, I suppose. But after an early start, the trees are really rather late this year now. It's 11th of May, the sycamore, well, they're coming out, but they've been frozen several times, I don't know. I have seen them before go all brown with severe frost. We had a minus 0.4 at home this morning, so it'll be less than that here, probably minus 1 at least down here, and yesterday was minus 1.5. at home, so I assume it was at least minus 2 down here. That's the remains of the old bridge I'm going to pick up on the trailer when I get time to come down to it with a trailer, or have the trailer on anyway maybe. You see, the problem is, although it looks most of the beams are sound, the ends were going. You see that there? So it wasn't really properly attached to the support anymore.